All right. Even though it's Christmas Eve, you guys have sent in a ton of stuff on Bitcoin and BRICS. You're definitely more interested in the potential financial shakeup than figuring out how one reindeer got named Blitzen.
Sounds like our listeners are ready to make some moves, even on a holiday. Smart.
Exactly. You flagged George's Crypto and Coffee at 8 episode from today. He covers a lot North Korean hackers, that HyperLiquid Exchange hack, but you really honed in on his analysis of Bitcoin's potential within BRICS. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it. It's a pretty complex intersection of global politics, economics, and tech, you know? George makes some bold claims, but it's definitely worth looking into.
Okay, so George starts with some big news.
Yeah.
The UAE is getting closer with BRICS, 20 more countries might join, and some are even saying this could challenge the US dollar.
It's not just hype, though. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, it's a powerful group. Emerging economies. They want to reshape the global financial order. Now, think about this. If you're into international trade or investment, these shifts could directly impact your bottom line.
That's where it gets interesting. George argues that Bitcoin's decentralized nature is exactly what BRICS wants to break free from Western financial systems. Think he's onto something.
He could be. Let's look at the benefits George outlines. First, de-dollarization. BRICS wants to move away from the US dollar, especially for trade. Bitcoin, because it's borderless and neutral, could be their alternative. Imagine settling transactions directly in Bitcoin, potentially cutting out all those fees and delays from traditional currency exchanges.
Okay, that's interesting for large-scale trade, but what about everyday people? A lot of BRICS citizens don't even have bank accounts.
Right, that's where financial inclusion comes in. Bitcoin could allow people in these regions to participate in the global economy without needing traditional banks. Think about it. Someone in rural India could send or receive money using only their phone and internet connection.
Powerful argument, especially if BRICS wants to empower its people economically. George also mentions Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. Makes sense with the volatility we've seen in emerging economies.
Absolutely, and Bitcoin's fixed supply, only 21 million will ever exist, gives it a deflationary nature, like digital gold. If a country's currency is rapidly losing value, holding Bitcoin could protect their savings.
George keeps using this term settlement layer, and frankly, at first I was lost. But apparently this is key to Bitcoin's speed and cost advantages.
I get you. Think of it this way. Bitcoin's blockchain is like a digital ledger, super secure and transparent. It can act as a direct settlement layer for international trade, bypassing systems like SWIFT. This means transactions could be finalized in minutes instead of days, and with much lower fees.
So someone running a business that relies on import-export, this could be huge. Faster payments, fewer fees, more control over their funds.
Exactly, that's the potential. But George isn't naive about the issues either.
It does sound kind of too good to be true. Any catches to this Bitcoin BRICS utopia?
Oh, yeah, plenty. For one, each BRICS nation has its own stance on cryptocurrency regulation. China's been cracking down, others are more open. This lack of unity could be a big problem.
And even if they agreed on regulations, wouldn't Bitcoin's price swings be a nightmare? Can you really use something that volatile for trade?
It's a major concern. It's interesting, actually. George even suggests that Ripple's XRP, designed for fast cross-border payments, might be a better fit in this case, since it's less volatile.
Wow. So even a Bitcoin enthusiast is open to other options. It's not just about ideology, but finding what actually works best. But what about the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining? That's been a big debate.
Huge debate. Some BRICS members have strict sustainability goals, and Bitcoin's energy consumption could cause some friction. Then there's also the potential for disagreements within BRICS itself. Could their different political and economic interests hinder them from working together on a Bitcoin strategy?
Okay, so we have this potential for Bitcoin to empower BRICS, reduce reliance on the US dollar, and create a more inclusive financial system. But there are serious challenges: regulation, volatility, and the environmental impact. Where does George leave us with all of this?
He's still optimistic, but he gets into something most people don't know about: Bitcoin's Layer 2 solutions. He thinks these are crucial for unlocking Bitcoin's full potential, especially for BRICS.
Layer 2 solutions. He kind of glossed over that. What are those, and why should we care?
Okay, so think of Bitcoin's main network as the foundation of a house, secure, but can only handle so much. Layer 2 solutions like the Lightning and Liquid networks are like adding more floors, expanding capacity without messing with the foundation.
I like that analogy. So how do these extra floors actually work?
Well, the Lightning network allows for Near instant, super cheap transactions on top of Bitcoin. Imagine someone in Brazil sending money to their family in South Africa. With Lightning, it could happen instantly for like fractions of a penny.
Wow, that changes everything for those sending money back home. What about the Liquid network?
Liquid is all about faster settlement and tokenization of assets while keeping Bitcoin's security. Imagine BRICS nations tokenizing their national currencies or even commodities like oil or gold. This could make trade crazy efficient and transparent.
Tokenization, another one of those terms that make my head spin. Break that down a little further. I'm sure our listeners are wanting the same thing.
Think of it like this. You take something real, like gold, and create a digital version of it on the blockchain. Instead of moving physical gold bars, you're trading these digital tokens that represent ownership. It's faster, cheaper, and more secure.
Okay, now I see how these Layer 2 solutions could make Bitcoin more usable for everyday people and businesses, not just these like abstract financial systems.
That's the point George is making. These solutions could address some of Bitcoin's limitations and make it a real tool for BRICS.
All right, we've covered a lot here. BRICS goals, Bitcoin's potential, the issues, even these Layer 2 solutions. It's a lot, but in a good way.
It is a lot to think about, but it all points to a potential financial revolution brewing.
I'm definitely going to need another cup of coffee after this. So, what does all this mean for our listener tuning in? That's the big question, right? We've explored how BRICS and Bitcoin could disrupt the global financial order, but this is far from over. True. George paints this picture of developing nations empowered by new financial tools, reducing their reliance on traditional systems. But there's still a lot up in the air.
For sure. What are the long-term implications? For different countries, industries, individuals, what new opportunities and risks might pop up? These are all good questions to consider. You know, it's funny, speaking of smaller stories revealing a lot, George also talks about the FBI busting those North Korean hackers, stole millions in crypto. Quite a Christmas Eve surprise for law enforcement, huh?
Yeah, talk about adding some drama to the holidays. It sounds like something out of a movie. But this actually connects to what we were just talking about, right?
Definitely. North Korea, with all those sanctions, has been turning more and more to crypto hacking. It's how they're making money. They're taking advantage of the same, decentralized, borderless nature of crypto that BRICS nations are interested in.
So it's like a double-edged sword. On one side, you've got this potential for financial inclusion independence, and on the other, you've got states using it for illegal stuff.
Exactly. It shows how complicated things are getting with this tech. We need strong security and global cooperation to fight cybercrime. But it makes you wonder, what happens when a country like North Korea, operating outside the normal financial system, gets a ton of crypto wealth?
That's a scary thought. Kind of throws a wrench in the whole crypto for good idea.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that other story George covered, the hack on that decentralized exchange, HyperLiquid. Weren't those supposed to be super secure?
That's what people think, but this case really shows that the weakest link is usually human error, not tech. Apparently, the HyperLiquid hackers used social engineering. They targeted employees, not vulnerabilities in the platform.
Social engineering. So they tricked people, not code. That's unsettling.
It's like a modern con game, basically. The hackers tricked employees into giving up sensitive info or access to systems. Shows that even in the decentralized world, human error is still a big problem.
And I bet those types of attacks are only going to get more sophisticated, right? It's a constant arms race.
Yeah, it really is. That's why strong security is so important for both individuals and platforms. But, let's move on a bit. George also talks about some positive things happening, like MicroStrategy and Metaplanet have been buying a ton of Bitcoin.
I'm curious about that. Are they just following the trend, or is there something more strategic going on?
What's interesting is they're buying more, even with the recent volatility. It suggests they see Bitcoin as more than just, a gamble. They're betting on its long-term potential as a store of value, a hedge against inflation.
MicroStrategy especially has gone all in. They even got added to the NASDAQ Q100, right?
Right, and it shows that Bitcoin is being seen as a legitimate asset. But as George points out, there are risks. MicroStrategy's stock price is now tied to how Bitcoin performs.
So if Bitcoin crashes, their stock goes down with it. That seems pretty risky, even for big companies.
Oh, it is. But they're gambling that Bitcoin's long-term gains will be bigger than the short-term ups and downs. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Makes you wonder, are they visionaries or reckless?
Yeah.
Guess only time will tell. Speaking of betting big on the future, George also talked about Dubai and the UAE becoming global hubs for blockchain.
And it's not just talk. They're really making it happen. George mentions DWF Labs partnering with Blockchain Center Abu Dhabi to build up that whole Web3 ecosystem.
Dubai, luxury, and now blockchain. It does kind of fit. What are they focusing on?
Driving innovation, supporting startups, encouraging blockchain tech in all kinds of industries. Think of it like they're trying to create the next Silicon Valley, but for blockchain in the Middle East.
And it's not just DWF Labs. Aptos Foundation, a big player in the blockchain space, opened an office in Abu Dhabi too. What's pulling these companies there?
Well, the UAE government is being proactive about blockchain regulations. Clear guidelines, supportive policies, which are crucial for attracting investment and fostering innovation.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is. George even mentions Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, saying Abu Dhabi could become the top spot for crypto and AI.
That's a pretty bold statement coming from him. It shows the potential they see there.
It's crazy how fast things are changing. Who would have guessed the Middle East would be trying to be the blockchain capital of the world?
It's proof of how disruptive this technology is. The old rules about financial power are being rewritten. New players are entering the game. And that actually brings us to a really interesting part of George's episode, his Ask Me Anything with listeners.
I love those. You get to hear what people are actually thinking about. Their anxieties, hopes, questions. Should we check out what George's listeners were asking?
Definitely. It's a good way to see what's going on in the crypto community, maybe uncover some questions we hadn't thought of.
Okay, let's see what George's listeners are asking during his Ask Me Anything. Always interesting to hear what's on people's minds.
Yeah, especially after a day like today with all this news about hacks and geopolitics.
For sure. So what's the first question that stood out to you?
Well, someone asked, with that HyperLiquid hack, what security should crypto platforms focus on? Pretty relevant after today's events.
I bet a lot of people are wondering the same thing. What did George say?
He said there's no easy answer, no magic bullet. He thinks platforms need a bunch of different security measures, starting with strong wallet protection. Specifically, multi-signature wallets and hardware-based custody solutions.
For those of us who aren't, crypto experts, can you explain what those are and why they matter?
Sure. A multi-signature wallet is like having several locks on a vault. You need multiple keys to open it, so it's harder for someone to break in. Hardware-based custody solutions go even further. They store your crypto offline on special devices. It's like keeping your valuables in a safe deposit box at a bank, away from online threats.
So it's all about layers of protection, making it as hard as possible for hackers to get in, even if they break through one layer. Anything else George suggest?
He really stressed regular security audits done by independent cybersecurity firms. They look at the platform's code, smart contracts, infrastructure to find and fix problems before hackers get to them.
Kind of like a home inspection before you buy a house. Make sure there are no hidden issues.
Exactly. And these audits need to be done often to keep up with new threats.
Makes sense. What about protecting user accounts? What did George say people should do?
Multi-factor authentication, which most people know from their bank or social media, adds another layer of security on top of a password. He also mentioned biometric security, like fingerprints or facial recognition. Those are getting more common, which is good.
He mentioned decentralized identity systems, too. Sounds cool, but also kind of futuristic.
That's where things get interesting. Those systems use blockchain tech to let you control your own digital identity without needing governments or corporations.
So instead of a driver's license from the DMV, you'd have a digital ID on the blockchain that you control. What does that even mean for us?
You could change everything online, give people more ownership of their personal data. Imagine sharing only the info you want without relying on anyone else.
Big change, but it fits with that whole decentralization idea in the crypto world. But George did say these systems are still pretty new.
Yeah, there's still work to do before they're everywhere, but they have huge potential to change how we handle our digital identities.
Okay, back to platform security. What about, real-time threat monitoring? Did George talk about that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He recommends AI-powered tools to watch transactions and platform activity for anything suspicious. This helps platforms react to threats instantly and reduce damage.
Like a super advanced security system looking for anything out of the ordinary, ready to call for help if something's wrong.
Perfect analogy. And to make things even safer, George says platforms should keep most of their funds offline in cold storage.
Cold storage, is that like burying your Bitcoin in the Arctic?
Not quite that extreme. It just means storing crypto offline on devices not connected to the internet. Makes it pretty much impossible for hackers to steal the funds remotely.
The ultimate offline backup, keeping most of the money safe from online threats.
You got it. Secure wallets, regular audits, multi-factor authentication, decentralized identity, real-time monitoring, cold storage. That's a pretty good security checklist.
Sounds like Fort Knox for the digital age. But security isn't all about tech, right?
Right. George finished by saying how important user education is. People need to understand basic security to protect themselves, like not your keys, not your crypto.
Good reminder that even in this decentralized finance world, you're responsible for your own safety too.
Exactly. Security is everyone's job, platforms and users. Got to be careful and stay ahead of the game in this crazy world.
Well, that was a super informative look at crypto security. Hopefully our listener feels a bit more prepared to navigate this whole thing.
Knowing what's up is key, especially when it comes to your money in crypto.
And with that, we're at the end of our deep dive into George's Crypto and Coffee at 8. We explored how Bitcoin could change the global financial system, the good and bad of decentralized finance, and how important security is in this rapidly changing space.
We went from BRICS nations to cybercrime, from companies betting big on Bitcoin to the Middle East becoming a blockchain hub. It's been quite a ride.
We've covered more ground than Santa on Christmas Eve.
It really shows how much this technology is changing the world in ways we're only starting to grasp.
It's exciting, challenging, and definitely not for everyone, but that's what makes it so fascinating.
And that's what we do here at the Deep Dive, unpack these complicated topics, explore different views, and help you, our listeners, make smart decisions.
Keep those sources coming, folks. Keep asking those great questions. We're here to dive deep with you every step of the way.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.